What's up, guys? Um, Bench arch is a thing again on Instagram. Anyway, Jen Thompson made a post that she ended up taking down about bench arching, and her post was kind of in bad taste, in my opinion. Just the way she went about it. Everybody's entitled to their opinion about the arch, and certainly Jen has earned that right. You don't have to completely shit on another lifter to do it. And like comparing a board press to an arched bench press, it's potato. Anyway, that said, how to fix the arch in the bench press. One, I'm going to get this out of the way. I really don't think it needs fixing the way it is right now. It's not too big a deal. I think, again, like most things on the internet, you see one or two videos, it gets blown out of proportion. IPF Worlds just happened. Again, we're talking at like the highest level here. Powerlifting is a sport, a rather unathletic one, but it's a sport nonetheless. And movement economy is a thing across all sports. Getting the objective done in the most efficient way possible. That's why tall people are coveted in basketball. They are closer to the rim. Along with a slew of other advantages that height has. So it's one of those things. Anyway, how would we go about fixing it? Okay, if I were in charge and somebody said, "Hey, we definitely want to get rid of these arches in the most objective and practical way possible," what would we do? What I would do, I would require self handoffs and require self re-racks. And on the re-rack, you have to maintain all points of contact that are required by the Fed. I'm going to use IPF usapl rules, as this is the federation that tends to have like the most people arching and stuff, because again, it's the highest level, and we see these at Raw Nationals and IPF Worlds. So your head, shoulders, and glutes have to remain in contact with the bench, and your feet have to be flat on the floor. So self handoffs, you have to set up closer to the uprights. Now some of these people are very flexible, and it probably isn't going to be much of an issue. I know for me, like when I have to self handoff, I get slightly less of an arch than if I can set up farther away from the uprights, because I'm going to get a handoff, so I don't have to worry about my leverage underneath on the unrack. And when you're self unracking, you definitely have to be much closer to the uprights. And then as far as like the self re-rack, this one honestly, this I would be for changing. And it happens that you only really see it with the extreme archers. After they complete their lift and they are fully locked out, the spotters have to lift the bar up from there. They're fully locked out, elbows extended, locked out. They can't physically re-rack it if they wanted to without, having to alter their arch, bring their hands in, move things out of points of contact that are required. The spotters lift the bar up from their locked out position in order to re-rack it. I think that's a little silly. That's more silly to me than the arch itself. Again, I'm for movement economy. But that's what I would do. I would require self handoffs and require self re-racks. And during the re-rack, everything has to stay in contact. Your glutes have to stay on the bench. The back of your head has to stay on the bench. Your shoulders and both feet have to remain flat on the ground. And I think that would mitigate a lot of it. Not get rid of. Arching doesn't need to be gotten rid of. Arching is healthy and safe for your shoulders. Obviously, the arches in question here are much more extreme than like the proper form arch, but you can't put an arbitrary number. You can't say, oh, a 10 centimeter arch is all we're going to allow, because the human eye can't judge 9.9 centimeters versus 10.1 centimeters. When you make rules for an objective sport, you have to be able to practically implement them and judge them. I've seen, making the elbows break the plane of the bench. Again, people just have vastly different builds. And you get up to some of the big boy classes, that might become an issue. And judges, you're requiring too much out of judges. They already have to look and make sure the feet aren't moving, stay flat on the ground. They have to make sure the glutes are remaining in contact with the bench. They have to make sure there's no downward motions of the bar, and then asking them to make a depth call in real time amongst all of that. We already know how depth calls tend to never ever be controversial on squats. Wink, wink. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's putting too much on the judges, and I don't think it's practical. And then there's the grip width for weight classes. I've seen this discussed. This one's gotten a lot of traction because it would be easier to implement. You just make extra marks on the bar, and everybody from this weight class to this weight class, this is your mark for max legal grip width. Everybody from this class to this class, it's this mark, and then this class and up, it's the the traditional marks. Two problems with this. The first one, like at the very highest level, it might scale okay, because at that point we're talking about the best of the best, and that is where weight classes are height classes in disguise. Most people are going to be proportioned pretty similarly, so it would be close to uniform. However, when you're making rules for a federation, you have to scale those rules down all the way to the local level, and that's where the overwhelming majority of your lifters are, is the local level. And down there, there's vastly different body types among all weight classes. So whereas like your 71s and your 83s at the top level at nationals and at worlds, they're all like 5'6", 5'7". You might have some guys that are 6'2", 6'3", $180, competing at a local level, and making them have the shortened, max legal grip width. It just isn't practical. And then the other thing, as far as that goes, everybody in the meet is competing for best lifter. You're all competing against each other separate of your weight classes. You can't have different rules. You have to have the same uniform rules across weight classes. So making a max legal grip width for weight classes, you can't do it, because if this lifter gets a max legal grip width, God, that's a tongue twister, that's an inch wider than mine, well, that's not really fair. He's got an advantage in competing for best lifter. So you can't separate rules among weight classes. Body types and stuff aside, I think that would be the big kicker, is the whole best lifter thing. Everybody, whether you like it or not, is competing against each other, and you can't make the rules different. So TLDW, self handoffs, self re-racks. That would mitigate the problem that I honestly don't really feel like is a problem anyway. But if there was a way to practically implement something that didn't require extra judging, that was completely objective and standardized with absolutely zero effort to anybody, that would be it.